What up, gamers? I'm Jason. I'm back with another episode of Kickstarter Excess or Value. We've got our regular hosts as well today, and they'll be introducing themselves in just a moment. Also, we got some special stuff going on, but don't want to peel back the curtains just yet, so I'm going to let them take it away, tell you where to find them on the internet, and maybe a little bit as to what they've been up to.
Hey folks, Ryan here from Mr. L's Gaming, and you can find me primarily on YouTube live every Tuesday and Thursday evenings, where I've been, mostly just playing a whole bunch of different games, usually sometimes solo, sometimes with a whole bunch of friends. And you can also find me all over the interwebs at Mr. L Gaming. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Hey everyone, it's Rob and
Anna Marie
from the Meeple Dungeon out here in Kelowna, BC. You can find us on Twitter
at Meeple Dungeon,
and YouTube, and our podcast, the Meeple Dungeon podcast, on all the major podcasting sites.
All right, and we do have some other people joining us today, and not just people. These are very important people in the world of board gaming, as they have just launched the Kickstarter that we were talking about. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves as we talk to the designers of Patriot.
All right, I'll go first. I'm Jono. We're from Boardgames. So my friend here, Anthony, and I are the designers of a board game called Patriot, which is currently live on Kickstarter. And Anthony, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm Anthony. And yeah, like Jono said, one of the other creators of Patriot. It's been a super long journey creating this game. We're super excited to say that we are live on Kickstarter. So it's been a nerve-wracking but very fun journey. Jono, did you want to talk about the game a little bit?
Yeah, we'll have Ryan pop up the Kickstarter page.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And he'll
Ryan.
follow through.
Drop the ball on this one, folks.
Good start.
I'm so excited. Sorry.
There it is.
It's all good. So, John, take it away. Tell us about the game. This is usually what I do. Talk about the world, the setup, the different ways you can play the game, and give people a reason to back this beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love the theme. Just a little bit of spoilers. I love that sort of cyberpunk, but not quite cyberpunk. A little bit of dystopia. It just does it for me.
Yeah, I think our artists did a really good job of the theming. But I'll just go through a little bit about the backstory of it, I guess. In Patriot, you're playing the president and the president's closest allies in a world called Camonia. It's a post-apocalyptic society that definitely has some issues. There's some rioting going on. There's people trying to assassinate the president, which is sort of the core theming of the game. The game's a social deduction game, meaning that one of the president's closest allies is trying to take him out. They've sent 5 letters to the president, and those letters are making demands of the president, things that he needs to meet over those 5 days in order to survive. So the president's in the game as one of the players, and one of the other players, or more of the other players in the game, are trying to assassinate them in secret. There's votes that happen in the game. There's things and resources that you'll be using, and that assassin is trying to use those resources and votes against the president to make sure that they don't make it through alive. So it's a pretty exciting gameplay in that one of the people in your group, similar to some other games like Dead of Winter or Battlestar Galactica, if you've ever played those, someone there is going against the group, and it's your job as the president or his allies to hunt them down.
And probably the other thing to mention as well is that we love social deduction, and it's a genre that people really either love or hate. We find. But our game is a little different because we have a huge emphasis on strategy and storytelling. And Jason, you were mentioning before about the theme. Well, we've just tried our hardest to dive into this theme and make it as unique and dark and gritty as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the theming is different from any other social deduction game that has a strategy element to it, in terms of there's more game around it than just trying to find out who the bad guy is. I mean, you're fighting the board as well, which somewhat like the Dead of Winter and Battlestar Galactica. That's why we usually compare them, because there is a lot of game around the social deduction as well. We've played some in the past, like Salem is one of our favorite games, which is a bit heavier, just social deduction, but not as heavy a game. So it really does lean into the theme, and you get pretty deep into it when you're playing. And it's something that for people who enjoy role playing as well, because there is such a heavy theme through the game, it really allows that to happen too, which is something that we found in our playtesting people have quite enjoyed. So I guess that covers off the sort of the theme of the game and what you're trying to do. Where do you want me to dive into?
Well, there's two ways to play the game, right? There's the 3 to 6 player semi-cooperative game, and then the 1 to 2 player cooperative game. So definitely like to get some more background on those. I think if you scroll down, Ryan, you'll be able to see a little bit more what's in the box. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess we really want to make sure that we could have a 1 to 2 player variant of the game. And I guess that's what it is. Unfortunately, you can't really make a 1 or 2 player social deduction game, so it doesn't quite have that element to it.
Wouldn't be that much fun, I don't think.
Yeah, I know
social deduction.
I know who the assassin is. He's me. Anyway, so what we did is we made a really story-driven element to the game. So the 1 and 2 player mode is really you exploring the characters' backstories a little bit more and working through a scenario that they have either caused or they're trying to solve in the world of Camonia. For example, there's a campaign that's based around the president's daughter, M or Diva, who's launched some missiles accidentally, and you need to solve that issue before it becomes a real issue for Camonia and key locations start getting bombed. So lets you work through some of their backstory, reveals a little bit more about the way they think and the way they approach the world. And it's really trying to dive into that theming part of the game as well, while also being quite challenging. We have played this game a lot, and it's not that we win every time anymore. It's still quite challenging every time to try and get through the strategy element of that 1 to 2 player campaign. And I always have a good time playing it as well. So I'm pretty proud of the fact that we've managed to build, that kind of campaign into what is at heart a social deduction game, to make sure that we can have 1 and 2 player element of the game that people can enjoy.
Nice.
I think that's really important, because you mentioned Battlestar Galactica, and watching one of the how to play videos, I do see like some of that element in terms of the influence being carried over into this game. But Battlestar was on my shelf. Battlestar is no longer on my shelf, mainly because it's one of those games that I just can't get it to the table, because I can't get it played 1 to 2 players. And quite frankly, with how much people were paying for it before Unfathomable came out, I was too scared to drop anything on it. I didn't want to play it.
So Unfathomable is the spiritual successor to BSG, I understand. But we've got a lot of inspiration from BSG. However, where we wanted to differ was this 1 to 2 player campaign, and I've actually been really surprised about how receptive people have been to just diving into these campaigns. And we started out this game really focusing in on the 3 to 6 player game. It is really our core game. That's what the game is built around. But if you flip the other side of the board, we have a similar world. So it's still Camonia, but we've modified the board to make it for 1 to 2 players. And I'm finding that probably just under half the people are exclusively looking at this 1 to 2 player campaign. So I understand your comments about not being able to bring BSG to the table. I actually feel it's more of an industry thing where people are really focusing in on games that they can play with their partner or, with their best friend, rather than bringing 6 people together for a weekend, which is quite hard to do, especially if you have kids or a lot of board gamers don't have as much free time because we're all busy,
I think a good example of that is the gaming group that I play with, which is often running 2 tables. Even if I brought a game like Patriot, I'm probably going to be more at the 3 or 4 player count than I'd ever necessarily be up at the 6 player count, just because of everyone's own individual tastes and what they're feeling like playing.
Yeah, I love hearing that you've with how much thought you've put into the 1-2 player part of the game, because I find so often with it being a big thing now to have, those 2 player variants, a lot of times it'll just get slapped on the box and it'll be like, here's a, 2 to 6 player game, but it's really not. Like, it's like you said, it's not fun at 2 player. Yep. It's not meant for it. So the way you've split it, so like it's the same game, but a different game. I like the thought that you've put into it. That's very intriguing. That's good to hear. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you. And a lot of our stretch goals are based around building out the campaigns for the characters. So we have 14 characters in the game currently. Actually 15, because we've added a Kickstarter exclusive character in, which is my dog in real life. And we've also got another character who'll be added into the game, which is a backer. One of the backers will be a character. So we're going to build all of these stretch goals around how can we dive deeper into these characters, as well as, you know, the standard stuff that you would really want to see, like upgraded componentry. And we have a rulebook expert that's going to completely review our rulebook, because we want to make sure that it's tip top before it ships out. But yeah, getting deep into these solo campaigns is something that I'm very excited about.
I have to say, thank you for taking the time with the rule book, because at the start of this year, fortunately so far, I did have the displeasure of reviewing what is still my worst game of the year. And the rule book in the box literally is unplayable with the game.
Oh no.
They actually fixed the rule book, and it was buried in a Kickstarter update back in September that they announced, like, hey, here's the new rule book. And everyone's like, wait, what? So you have to dig through the Kickstarter update, get the new rule book. And even then, it was like barely playable. I literally set up the game and I looked at my hand and I go, I lost the game. I go, this book is crap.
It's very fantastic, because I've been seeing it a lot lately with rule books, and I think it's something where I'm, as a gamer, this is where I'm paying attention to lately, when I'm trying to set up a game for a stream or something like that, and I'm going through it, and I've played this game many times, and I still have questions every single time, and there's still ambiguities, and I'm still just staring at a wall of text without any descriptors or anything like that. So yes, thank you for putting the efforts into the rule book. I'm sure it'll pay off in dividends.
Agreed.
Yep, for sure.
It was actually a pretty big focus for us in the last 12 months, trying to get the rule book as good as we can. But we do recognize that, you know, we're not experts at making rule books, and there are people out there who are experts. So we figured we've got to a pretty good spot, we think, and we think it's quite easy to understand the game as people who've made it, I guess. But if we can get someone who does this day in, day out to have a look at it and make it as good as it can be, we're going to do that. So that's why we want to put that as a stretch goal and get someone on board, and we've reached it. So it will be happening post-campaign, which is really good. So it'll be in a good spot, a really good spot when it releases.
And that's something that I love to hear, because I find that at least a lot of games on Kickstarter, at least some games that I've played recently, and I'm not going to name any of them. I'll just hint at one of them, because I think Ryan actually has my copy now. But it really felt that like it was played by the same people over and over and over again. And then there just was not enough outside influence and like feedback that was brought into the game. Like, especially something that's important, I think, like with the rule book, just understanding things, or even just how a game actually feels like at a game night. Like, you know, people want to buy that game, take it to the game night. Who's actually going to want to play in a game group? And I think the game was very well done for a specific subset of people. I think on other levels it didn't do well. And I love the fact that you're opening this up and really getting that feedback to make this game the best that it possibly can be.
Well, to be completely fair, I feel like our game actually suffered the exact same problem, and we reached that point, the consensus ourselves. So we had the game blind play tested by someone called Ivan, who runs playerlair.net. He's a publisher himself. He has a number of games that are with publishers now. His full-time job is professional playtesting, and he gave us a lot of great feedback. One of which was, guys, you don't want to get into the hive mind of focusing in on problems that only you can see. You really need to open up your mind to understanding that people will really think differently from you. And that's something that really stuck with me, because it's so true. Like, some things that people have seen in our rule book that I'm like, it's such an obvious rule. No, people read things differently every single time they read the rulebook. So I think it's the hardest thing about making a board game good, is getting a good rulebook. You have to make it really concise with your wording. You have to make the language as simple as possible that gets the message across. And with a heavy rule book, like, come on, you're talking about a number of different pages there. It's not an easy task to do. So Jono's right. We have to make sure that we understand where our skills are. And we've done I'd say a pretty good job putting it together now, but we've got to make sure that we get other professionals in who have different brains than us, because that's probably the most important thing.
As long as your rule book doesn't have 3 different versions of line of sight on the same page, you're actually better than professional publishers.
It doesn't.
I think we're good on that.
I have a quick thing. If before we move any too much further along, I was hoping to circle back about the player count for just a second. Full disclosure, I am an enormous social deduction game fan. So this is like right up my alley for sure. Same with her, but yeah. I really, really am. And
he really gets into it. I try. I usually fail, but he's really good at
definitely, like, it may or may not be my favorite type of game. So, and I love that what does it play to 6? Is that right?
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
And then you, when you get down to 2 players, you were having the campaign mode. Had you ever thought of, because I know this is kind of really strange because I've only seen one game do it, where they actually had the social deduction element still in play at a 2-player game count, where one of you may or may not be the assassin. Like, was that ever maybe like a possibility for this, or is that too kind of difficult to go with the theme for this one?
Yeah, I'll take that question, John. It was, and we did float the idea. Actually, when we were building the 1 to 2 player campaign, we had a number of different ideas that we put on the table. What we did is we went to our local bar and we had a few beers, and we had a big paper with all of the different things that could make this possible. This would have been well over a year ago. And then we said, can we make the game 2 players with social deduction if we introduce AI? Right. And we thought that there could be AI, essentially AI that could pull the game one way or the other, and you're not sure if the person you're playing with is someone who's with you or against you. Mm-hmm. And I still love that idea. We couldn't make it work because it became too complex, and it almost deserves its own game because it's such a cool thing to do. So maybe that's an expansion.
That's what I kind of thought you would say, is exactly that. I figured that that's not an easy thing to put into a game that's designed one way. But yeah, no, that's cool. It's cool to hear that you thought about it, but it wasn't able to fly. That's no worries. It's all good. I was just curious.
Maybe we were too many beers in when we're
So Canadians love their beer. Aussies love their beer.
Yeah.
What beer were you guys drinking? Completely off topic, but I have no idea if there's even microbreweries.
Yeah, an example there, Anthony. Slipstream Brewing.
Oh,
Slipstream. I'm wearing the hat. This is my local.
Nice.
We live quite close together.
Excellent.
We live pretty close together, and that's our local brewery that's sort of in the middle of our houses. So we always end up there. It's a good spot.
Perfect. Yes, love it.
All right, so let's start taking a look at the different pledge levels.
All right, let's see if I can find it here.
We've got the core game.
Right there. There we go. So we're advertising core box here. $14 off MSRP, 79 USD, 121 Australian dollars. I always forget that Australian dollars are like a thing. Much like Canadian dollars.
You have currency here.
Wait. Did you have the queen on your money? Because I know all of us here don't want to put the king on our money. I'm fairly certain of that.
Hey,
there you go.
There she is.
I don't know what's going to happen. Actually, this is a little off topic as well, but the Australian currency has only been changed once because it's a very new country, right? So this would be the first time in history in Australia that there's someone else on the notes, and I don't think anyone really knows what to do yet.
Still figuring that one out.
Yeah,
perfect. All right, so yeah, there we go. 79 USD, 121 Australian, and if I can read this correctly, that's about 106 Canadian dollar dues for our Patriot Hilbert's Standard Core Game Pledge. And what are we getting in? What are we getting inside this core box?
Yeah, well, I guess I mean, I think the core box still includes a lot of really good stuff. So we still have 36 miniatures in there, which I think we view that as a pretty cool thing to have in a core version of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Standees for all the characters as well. So we've got 14 of those in there, plus some for there's still Rioter and mech standees as well, because I know some people don't quite like to combine minis and standees. So you have the option there either way. If you want to just play with standees, you can do that too. You still get the Kickstarter exclusive president being Ashy there, with Anthony's dog on the left on that screen, and the Kickstarter backer character will be included in the core box as well. So I think that's a really cool thing. It doesn't matter what version of the game you back, you still have a chance to go in that draw to be that character.
Awesome.
And we'll work with you through that. So I'm really excited to get that done.
I love that your dog is an optional president. I think that's fantastic.
She has a really cool backstory as well. I think Anthony wrote the story for that one. He took a lot of liberties in making her an absolute brutal dictator. It's it's pretty cool.
What happens with the dog? I mean, they're so lovable and cute, but if you're not home on time, you're like, what's eating? What's eating? Better not be my favorite board game. Otherwise,
that was exactly it, Jason. Right. It was like when I wrote it, I think she was in trouble. So I was like, I'm going to make you a terrible character. Stop you, Ashy.
Her campaign mode actually revolves around killing all humans. So yeah, she's really up there. You still get we got over 300 cards included in the game, so including the 15 letters, which really are sort of a randomized team element to the game. 168 influence cards, which is similar to the smaller cards you have in Battlestar Galactica. All the riots, beacons, allegiance, briefs, and scientific discovery cards, which is various elements in the game, usually things that you do with your turn. And then you hear all the extra bits. So we've got coins, science markers, dice, trackers, all that kind of thing, all included in the base game. And then obviously the rule books and the boards. So the board's a double-sided board with the 3 to 6 player on one side and the 1 to 2 player campaign on the other side. So we've rebalanced the spaces a little bit and made it make a bit more sense for 1 to 2 players in some of the spaces. So yeah, that's all included in the base edition, plus all the stretch goals. So that's a couple more campaigns are included in there, some card upgrades for the Kickstarter ones later on. We'll unlock them at some point. There's a little sneak peek for what's coming. Yeah, I think we really want to make sure that the game feels good. Doesn't matter what version of the game you buy, it's got to feel good. And I think we've bought Kickstarter games in the past where you sort of open it up and you feel like you're getting something that you've printed on your home printer, and that's not what we wanted. We wanted this to feel like it's a nice game to play, and that's a feeling that we got with Battlestar Galactica and some of the other games we've had, Dead of Winter, Salem, all felt good to play. So we want to recreate that, even if you're just going for the core version. But we're able to upgrade it a little bit in Deluxe one, which I guess is next. If you want to run through that one, Anthony.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And so on the side here, we are jumping in. Looks like you got some early bird pricing to get some people juiced up and of the Kickstarter process here. Right now, you're an early bird. I saw that message the other day. Early bird 2. You had an earlier early bird. Is that how we say it? We had an earlier early bird, and now we've got a second early bird here for the President's Deluxe All In. Oh wow!
I gotta say, because we had a discussion about this with the designer for Earth Under Siege Flashpoint. I think it's pretty cool that you guys are doing a second early bird.
We had that conversation earlier today.
Cool. Yeah. It's been a heated discussion amongst ourselves as well, and there's a big debate. I'm sure you guys have talked about this before, but a lot of people really dislike early birds, because you potentially miss out on something that other people get. So it's kind of like, oh, I really wanted to get that, and then it puts a bad taste in people's mouths. But we didn't want that to happen, and we're actually surprised at the initial momentum of the campaign, considering it's really our first campaign. It's our first board game. We didn't think that we would fund on day one, so we put the initial early bird at 200, limited to 200, and then that went out way too quickly. So we said, okay, well, let's just extend this, because we don't feel like it's fair for people who've only just got the email. You know, they're coming home from work and they didn't get a chance to see it. So we extended it to 300, and then that sold out. So we then said, well, look, we're only on day 2. Why don't we introduce another early bird? Because people, you know, we really appreciate these backers. We really appreciate the community. You can see we've got 615 comments on the campaign. Like, people are really getting into it. So we want to make sure that everyone on Kickstarter has that first opportunity to get in and back. And I think we've only got a few left. We've got 33 left of the second early bird. It's 10 Australian dollars more expensive, but when that's out, that's it. And we're really, really happy with the fact that we feel like we've got all the people who really wanted to get in early, that they're going to have a chance of being able to back it.
I think the main reason that people dislike early birds, and this was really sort of our last discussion on it, was sometimes, especially for those of us that are like in Canada or in the rest of the world, that $15 gets to be like, you know, it'd be a little bit more exaggerated, especially when you factor in shipping and everything else. And then all of a sudden it's like, do I get this game, or do I get this other game that's at retail, and I get this other game at retail, and they cost the same price? So it brings up those conversations where it's like, I want this game, but I missed the early bird. Oh, now it's no longer as good of a value as it was. And then you're weighing the scales.
I'll add into that too, Jason. Another issue that I tend to have with the early birds is when it's an item. Like when it's an item you can get if you're one of the first, say, however many backers. And if you don't see it, or you're not, you know, you don't realize it's going on, and it's something that you can only get at that point, that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, that can be annoying.
But having like when nothing in the game has changed, or, you know, something like that, then it's not as bad. Doesn't sting as much.
You know, sometimes you're just unlucky. Like, what if you have to go and see your baby niece over the weekend, and you can't and you really want to back, but you're just too busy? I also think that's a disincentive to back a campaign. But if you have the opportunity to back, you're given the opportunity, and you can make a decision as a consumer whether it's right for you. That's a fair way to run it, we feel. So that's why we also introduced this second early bird. We didn't feel like there was enough opportunity for people yet to actually get in on the deal.
That's awesome. I love that.
So
let's talk about what's in this deluxe box version, and what we're getting extra. And then we'll talk about the 2 different pledges.
Sure. Okay, so what you get in the deluxe box? Well, firstly, you get 20 metal coins. So, actually, first you get the core box. So you get everything in the core box.
You get the game.
You don't just get the 20 metal coins, okay? You do get the game, if that was a question that people had.
That would be quite the scam. And I would have to say, if someone actually pulled that off, I would say touche. I'd be pissed, but if they phrased it right, I probably would be like, well done. I will well done.
Never meet me at a convention, because you will need to run. So we're not scamming people. You do get
To be clear, there's no scamming going
on. Okay, so you get 20 metal coins. There'll be 5 and 1 in value. There'll be silver and gold. We want to make the 5 coins the gold coins, and we want to make the 1 value coins the silver coins. it's a unique design to the game, so it's not a standard coin. You also get a neoprene player mat. That's an example there. We'll actually make it look better, but it does have the concepts on there. So it's 31 by 22 centimeters, and yes, we're talking in centimeters because that's the right way. I don't know what that is in inches, but I'm sure people work it out.
It's the right way. You don't have to apologize.
It's the right way.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
I love Canadians.
Stitched edges or no stitch edges?
That's TBD, but we would love to have stitched edges. We need to, the reason it is TBD is because for everything else in the campaign, that's not in the deluxe box, we've actually already had the prototype sent through from the manufacturer that we'll be going with. And we're very cautious people. We don't want to lock in anything that doesn't actually make sense for the game itself. So what we'll probably do is we'll get one of each from the manufacturer when the game's finished. And if we have the opportunity, I'd love to ask the community which one they prefer. My personal preference is stitched edges. I think it looks nicer. What do you guys think?
Love stitched
definitely.
edges, yeah.
Stitch edges every time.
Yeah,
they just seem to last longer too. You don't get that fraying on the edges and the corners, and
yeah, I agree.
We're supposed to be nice to other publishers, but I gotta say this, like FFG player mat, like mats, man, like sometimes I think they're already gonna fray on me when I open the tube.
It's all fair game. It's all fair game. We love FFG around here, and at the same time, I also hate them and some of their product choices that they make, but they still get my money for some odd reason. I don't know why.
Does this
stitch edges?
Does this? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's a hard choice sometimes because when you're dealing with a manufacturer, you have to work within a box. So for us, when we get both of the options in, it will be very clear which is the right option as soon as we hold it. But like that's the point. We don't want to get in a situation where, we just think that stitched edges is the right way to go. Then you guys receive it and you're like, it already looks pretty broken. So
fair enough. We don't know what the core the cost difference between like if you're producing like hundreds of units or you're producing thousands of units, it probably will add up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. This player mat here, does that replace the board, or is this for individual player, or what is this for?
This is for the individual player.
Okay.
There's in the middle there's a rolling section so you can roll your die. Okay. On the left-hand side, in the game, you can advance science in Camonia, so you can get individual science cards. They're called scientific discovery cards, and they will advance your personal position in the game. Like you can have extra action points, but you have to work for them in the game. There's a place for the character card, science markers, your allegiance card. There's a bunch of stuff in there that's pretty cool because there's a lot of stuff going on, so like I find it useful myself to keep really organized and to someone to tell me this is where you put the thing is quite nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the playmat. The next one is we're calling it the Camonia Dice Tower. So this is full disclosure inspiration from Wingspan, that dice tower. I just love it so much, that dice tower. And John and I were talking, we're like, oh man, how are we going to put this in our game? We just really need to. So lo and behold, we have the Camonia dice tower, which will sit to the side of the board, and it's the center piece that you can see on the current game board, but it's I'm not sure where we have that on the page exactly, but it's essentially just the presidential mansion where you can throw your dice into it. Yeah, there you go, where the letters are in that picture. You can throw your dice into it and the dice will roll out. And It's thematic. That's what we're going for.
That's awesome.
Love it.
I used to never use dice towers, and ever since Wingspan, more and more dice towers seem to be showing up in my house. So it kind of keeps happening. I mean,
they're so cool, right? They're not really functional, I think, but they look cool.
I grew up on Power Rangers. They came out with a Zordon dice tower. I have to have it.
Love it.
Did you get the dice tower for ISS Vanguard?
Yes, that is actually sitting on the table in front of me right now.
Oh, Jason.
The guy that says he doesn't like dice towers, you seem to be a bit of a sucker for dice towers.
Well, you gotta admit that with the Power Rangers one, it's like it's the character and it should be a dice tower. It's like just the perfect match in heaven for that
That's
one.
totally fair. I support it, by the way, just full disclosure. The other things are you get an A2 poster of the cover art in the game, and you get an enamel pin. That's the Patriot national emblem, so it will look like that. And you get upgraded cards in box, so everything will be upgraded to linen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's probably I think one of the centerpiece ones. You get the Rioter and Troop STL files. So if any of you are 3D printers, if you like to 3D print.
Cool.
That's what they are. I was wondering what they were. I didn't know. So I'm glad you.
Yeah, no worries. I have a 3D printer, but not a resin 3D printer. And our friend at Platypus Industries, Matt, he made the Drop Bears campaign. This stemmed from a conversation he had with us where he said, mate, you would not believe how many people ask me for my Drop Bears miniature. And to be fair, his looks really cool. But we thought it would be a real treat for people who are into 3D printing to be able to make more characters themselves, or troops and riders.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that.
And you also get a digital art book. And the digital rulebook everyone has access to. That's a position thing. We might have to position that a bit better, but yeah, the digital
okay.
rulebook is the last thing.
I noticed that as I was going through the page. I'm like, oh no, this must be the start of this is something else. It's its own title. I don't think that's exclusive to the deluxe edition.
That's right.
And then let's just take a look at the cost of the deluxe edition. If you don't grab one of those few remaining cards.
Yeah, it is deluxe all in. It is $179. So that's 20 Australian dollars more than the current early bird 2.
Yep.
Perfect.
Which is what, 157 Canadian?
It's 157 Canadian. The early bird 2 currently right now is 140 Canadian.
Right. Okay.
Which now I'm just looking at that from the standard core box. It's 106 Canadian. So we're adding on like
$35 more.
Yeah, $34, $35 Canadian more to get this. A lot of extra stuff.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts is the metal coins. There's a game called Sheer Legends of a Drift System, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It's got metal coins in it, and that was the first game for me that sort of brought that to my mind. And we use them for other games. It's something that we play that game to play with the metal coins sometimes. So I thought it just had to be something that we put in our game as well. And it really, in my eyes, it really changes the way a game feels to play, having the metal coins involved.
It does.
If it was me backing as an outsider, I'd be backing just for the metal coins. Personally. Yeah.
I have the upgraded version of the Reckoners with all the metal pieces, and it just feels so much better than the standard version. I think it's one of the reasons why my wife Julie likes playing the game, because we come down the table and it's like, ooh, everything feels nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm real sucker for them.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was all I had to say about it.
So we always like to talk value on the show. That's why the show is called Kickstarter Excess or Value. And as you're showing us a little bit behind the scenes as to what's going on with the Kickstarter, the campaign, one of the reasons why we focus on that is because it's one of the only things we can actually discuss without just being like blah, 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 talking out of our bums when we haven't actually played a game. since we back and do enough we pay enough money for Kickstarter, we should know when we're on a good deal. I mean, you can see Rob and Emery's wall of games back there.
So serious collection.
It's only a small part of it. I think it was all the way around.
I was saying before the show that you'd need a house mortgage between the two of you to afford that.
Right.
Over here.
That's right.
I know.
Well, this room that I'm currently sitting in has its own separate insurance from the rest of the house. That's how much stuff is in this room.
Incredible.
If we're taking a look at the core pledge only, and let's just use Unfathomable as a comparison. If we're looking at getting Unfathomable in Canada right now at retail, it's going for about $99.95. You can probably find it a little bit cheaper, but a key note on that is you don't have any miniatures in it. You're talking about a game with pure standees, so you're seeing a good price difference, but I can always say you're getting a lot more in the box. You're also getting something that can be played with a campaign mode for 1 to 2 players, something you're not getting with Unfathomable. So if I'm looking at the core box just in terms of like value based on like some comparable stuff, I think you guys nailed it straight on the money. Like the price is right for the core box. And I think it's actually maybe even leaning towards more the value side because you are getting some more stuff and more options in it. Like Patriot's a kind of social deduction game that I know that if I only play it a couple times a year, I can still play it whenever I want to, which I think that's a big thing for me.
I feel like this theme, you've really nailed this theme because when you look at BSG, it's and that's a huge game, but it's primarily for fans of BSG, right? If you didn't watch it or you don't know much about it, it's the characters' faces on the box. That's like what draws you into it. And then you have Unfathomable, which is a Cthulhu theme. So if you're a Cthulhu fan, right, like you've got that there or that type of theme. And then, but it's a president, right? Like it's a patriot. It's like things that you're dealing with, something on the regular so
people could probably get
I think that's you've nailed the theme as far as like just being able to reach, I think, a huge audience.
Separating yourself from BSG and Unfathomable probably wasn't easy to do, but you've definitely done it.
And then going back to the price. So Ryan, not Ryan, Jason, you said it was $99 for Unfathomable right now. This is what $106 for the core box.
Exactly. If you're looking at getting it off the shelf in a retail store, not necessarily going through an online retailer, which you may have to pay shipping, you may not have to pay shipping if you want to buy a bunch of stuff. $99 seems to be like that price for the game, or anywhere between like $90 to $99.
Yeah.
And like we've said, over and over again, I'm equating. You essentially get two different gaming experiences.
Yeah.
Out of this one, not just like you get one game experience out of Unfathomable or BSG or let's just at this point we can just call it the other guys. the other guys in the room right now.
And I think that's incredibly important because one of the things that we've all talked about on the show is how we've been thinning down our collections. And the one thing I've noticed is that those games that have like the 3-player minimum tend to be the ones that end up on the shelf that might have, find themselves removed from the collection, not because they're bad games, but mainly because you're looking at this one time and you're like, I haven't played this in 2 years. It's and something else is shipping, and it takes up way more room than I've left.
Yeah,
Rob and Anna Marie have no idea what you're saying there, Rob. Jason.
I was stifling a laugh, Ryan.
There's no such thing as what you were saying.
They're going to be something like a wine cellar add-on, but it's not going to be a wine cellar. It's just going to be more storage for board games.
Yeah.
We've had that conversation too.
Yeah. We've had that conversation.
I do like the thought of temperature-controlled board games.
Right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a thing, isn't it? Especially with BSG, when you end up with 5 boxes that are just full of stuff. It's it makes the game. We've tried to introduce some people to BSG over the years, and when you pull out, here's the 4 expansions that go with the core box, and you're going to have to learn all of this at the same time. It's a bit unapproachable for people. So I think that's one of the ways I view Patriot as a more approachable version to start with of BSG and Unfathomable and those kind of games where it's a bit easier to enter, but still has all the complexities if you want to dive into it.
And minis.
And minis.
Don't forget the minis.
You can't forget the minis.
So, question here then, because this is something we've been asking everyone, and I know I don't want to forget because Ryan will he'll come after me after the show. Why minis and not acrylic standees? Because I think those acrylic standees are starting to look nicer and nicer.
There's a simple answer to this, because I'm actually a big fan of acrylic standees as well. But when we actually started designing this game about 6 years ago, believe it or not. So it's been a long journey. And back 6 years ago, acrylic standees were definitely a thing, but you kind of touched on it, where they're not, they weren't as good in quality. And so we went ahead and we actually designed these miniatures, and subsequently we kind of fell in love with them too. It really adds a different element to the game. But I personally really like acrylic standees, and I feel like if we didn't have minis, that it would be the obvious option. We needed to add something into the game that you could pick up, you could put down, and it actually had some form of immersion. Just happened to be minis. And we have no regrets there at all. But it's a timing thing, really, is the answer.
Yeah,
that's a great answer.
That's kind of and that's been kind of the feeling we've gotten from this is a passion project for you guys over there, and this is your baby, this is your dream. You wanted the best possible product to come out there. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that we've been having these conversations because we do talk about like the dollar values, and I've always just been interested. Did you ever actually look at the cost comparison of what a standee would be compared to a miniature?
Yeah.
Okay.
We recently did, because we had the same conversation about a year ago, 9 months ago, where we said, these acrylic standees that are coming out just look fantastic, and maybe we should just explore it. So we went back to the manufacturer and asked for a quote for the acrylic standees. And funnily enough, they didn't really understand the concept of the acrylic standees. So I'm not exactly sure why, but I think that it's still kind of picking up in China, where a lot of these games are being developed, where some manufacturers can do it and some can't do it. And the cost was a little less, but comparable to the miniatures as well. Yeah.
I think with the theming of Patriot, like minis or acrylic standees, you're going to get the same effect. I'm just finding more and more now where I'm seeing games that are using that sort of like that comic book style with bright colors. I'm often wondering, just go with the standees, forget the miniatures, and it's just all going to come together. I mean, there's a game that we were all really interested in from one of Robin and Marie's favorite publishers, and I think it's the first time when we all of us that love miniatures, there's a mini box, and then we said no, no, and no. All three of us said we're not getting these miniatures. We'll take the basic standees over the miniatures.
Yeah. There has been some interesting things that have come out of working with miniatures, and there are some shipping complexities in miniatures. And you can see there the troops on the right-hand side, which are the mech characters. They have a connection between the leg and the body, which is quite thin. And you wouldn't have this problem with acrylic standees. So I guess that's a +1 for that side. But we found, at least with our prototypes, the legs had snapped off to the body because it just wasn't strong enough. So if you have a 2D, acrylic standee, you don't really have that issue. But it's interesting things like that kind of add to the conversation about which is better. cost-wise, they seem to be the same, but maybe we're going to have more returns, and we'll only probably find out in a year or so. In saying that, we're fixing up the leg issue. It's just something the hard way.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I've heard other people have also said that the price difference is like not extraordinary. Maybe if you're talking thousands of units as opposed to anything, but also you would, if you went to the standee, you wouldn't need a maybe as big of a box. And then therefore you could put more boxes into a pallet, when then you can put more pallets onto a boat or something like that, or some sort of trickle down effect, because you
Ryan's
have this,
math mind.
Sorry.
I think about this stuff all the time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent. So what does everyone here think of the value that we're getting in? Well, let's talk about the base, like, just a regular deluxe pledge. I think there's plenty of value in the early bird. Like, let's just be clear, you're getting a really nice discount. So if you are interested in getting the game and you grab an early bird with the deluxe, I think all 3 channels here are thumbs up, unless someone disagrees with me.
Nope.
No, because if you're going an extra $50 into this deluxe all in, that's not the early bird. You're getting metal coins. You're getting the European playmat. You're getting extra, like the posters and the whatnot. That big old dice tower that's sitting as a centerpiece of the game for $50 extra. Well, yeah, why? I'm saying it right now. Why not? I $50 extra. And of course, I don't know when exactly this video is going to come out, but with 33 spots left of the early bird, when it's only going to be like 35 extra Canadian dollars, steal right there.
Yeah. So behind the scenes, this should be coming out Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm pushing to get this out as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's great.
Great. Yeah, I guess
I don't know if anybody wants to reflect my thoughts or anything like that.
No, I totally agree, Ryan.
For the record, there's only 2 of those pledges left now.
So I definitely.
Oh wait, do I need to refresh this? Do I need to refresh the page?
Or 32, I should say.
You're gonna go back to
the
say, why did you do it? Why did you send us back?
No, I totally agree too. I was looking at the difference in the pledges. The first items, like, and now actually knowing what those files are adds more value to it, because before I didn't know what they were for. I'm like, we're already getting an art book. What are the files for?
Files for miniatures, when people design them, typically sell them for about $15 or so. But I think there's usually a little bit more variety, but they're anywhere between $15 to like $50, depending on the amount of minis that have been designed.
Yeah. So exactly what you said, Ryan, too. Like the metal coins, having that the dice tower, which is very cool.
Yep.
All of that in there, I do think that's really good value for a deluxe edition.
I agree. I think the deluxe edition is dead on. If you want the premium game experience, you're getting a lot of value for what you're paying, and you're going to be saving over retail because stuff is just getting more expensive. I love, I'm like John, I love my metal coins. I love my deluxe components. Not everything. Plastic tokens sometimes, I don't know. So I think sometimes people are just completely out to lunch. Ryan, do you remember what game had the plastic tokens that all of us almost fell out of our chair?
No,
that was like $50 or something.
What was that? Oh man.
Well, you guys are thinking.
I think I blocked it out of my memory. I just had one thing that I just kind of maybe I wasn't paying attention fully or anything like that. You only get one of these do you only get one, or do you get like a play set, or do you need a play set? I think I might have missed this. Sorry.
Only one for now, but
okay.
What we're planning to do is address that in the stretch goals.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Perfect.
Stay tuned.
Because I was gonna say that's as you know, everyone here knows I'm a sucker for playmats.
Yeah.
So that I think
We want the playmats.
but just having that was the other thing I wanted to mention in the value piece of it too. When you look at the price of a single playmat,
Mhm.
and then you add on the coins and the dice tower and everything else, like the value is definitely there.
Yep.
I'm still praying every night, Anna Marie, that those prayers
I appreciate your prayers.
as you hope they are.
And,
I pledged the playmats for Earthborn Rangers card game. Oh, they're gonna be fine. And they're
like our most expensive game.
That's okay. They were trying out a new like a rubber type playmat, and I was and so I'm curious how they're gonna be, because they're using them from like recycled materials, and so they were going kind of that route. And yeah, so I was very interested in those, but I couldn't just have one. If 4 people are playing, we want to have 4. And yeah, we spent a little bit too much.
We spent more on
that
playmats than we do on your whole Kickstarter here. So
okay.
that might be an exaggeration.
No, it was.
Oh, it might be.
I might just I might make another reward level just for you and just see how fun.
Perfect.
For one backer only, $600.
You get all of the playmats.
Excellent.
So I think this actually opens up, because when Ryan refreshed the page, we had Kickstarters take us all the way up, and now that we've been doing the show for a while now, luckily Ryan doesn't give anyone a seizure from scrolling through things.
Nice and slow.
Why don't we talk a little bit about, and then we're going to get into shipping for sure, but why Kickstarter and not GameFound or even BackerKit? I'm sure because you got promoted by BackerKit, so it just popped in my head, why not go on BackerKit? That being said, after seeing the pledge levels on Returns to Dark Tower on BackerKit, I can maybe understand why you didn't go with BackerKit.
Yeah, and this is such a cool topic, and it's so it's current because but just before we launched, I had an email that came in from GameFound saying that they would subsidize our pledge manager if we went with them, and all we would have to do is put a GameFound logo on the hero image, which you can see there. And I was like, that's just really interesting. It's a sign of the times that there's all of these major forces that are kind of battling to each other. Kickstarter is really in the crux of it right now, and they're trying to keep themselves as the leader. But you can see GameFound it has taken off. I think beyond anyone's expectations, or maybe not. I don't know. So the reason we stayed with Kickstarter is because the numbers told us that for first-time creators, it's really where the fresh eyes still go to. So that's purely a statistical thing. So we were thinking about GameFound, but the trend that we've seen is that for GameFound, it's perfect for campaigns that second or third game in, and that may have been the incorrect move, but it's just the thing that we saw, and I'm still not convinced that we made the right move, but we did get funded, so I'm happy about that. And as far as BackerKit goes, we actually didn't get an opportunity to even go with them because they were still in closed beta when we were building our campaign. And I believe that, I'm not entirely sure about this, but then Jono, you might know as well, but they might still be invite only for creators.
I think so. Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah. So Kickstarter, while it has some issues and it's quite hard to build your campaign on it, we met with Kickstarter, Nicole Amato, who's the second in line for the games section. We said, hey, look, we're first-time creators. Can you help us out? We would love to see if we could get promoted on Kickstarter. Can you give us any advice in our campaign? And they gave us the Projects We Love sticker, which has really helped us out a lot. But also they really treated us like human beings, and that for us that means a lot. So we ended up saying, look, Kickstarter feels like a right fit for us. Like I said, whether that's the right move, I'm not even entirely sure myself. But yeah.
Well, the one thing we've heard is first-time creators, marketing, Kickstarter still the way to go. If you have that brand name, that brand recognition, you can go wherever you want, and that's where people are saying that just go to GameFound. It's just easier to use, better for your backers. But starting off, you're better off on Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's kind of what we think too. And I mean, like, so for us, and this is a wider conversation, and if you look at something like there's the new Wonderland's War campaign coming out by James Hudson, and he's released a number of games. I mean, we all know him, right? He has currently over 10,000 people who have signed up to his pre-launch page. Now, I don't know if he's done any advertising, but his reputation has really pulled most of those backers in, or the pre-launch followers in. I'm sure of it. But for someone like us, you know, what have we got to our name? We haven't launched any other games before. So what we've had to do is go hard in our marketing, really hard in our Facebook and Google marketing, really engage the community, do lots of grassroots stuff. And like you said, Jason, we've got to use the platform that people go to, especially for the first campaign. So yeah, and I think ask us again in a year from now, but I think now this is the majority of people still click onto Kickstarter and it has that brand rep.
And I gotta say, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. My point can wait a little bit.
I was just gonna say, and like one of our biggest issues that we tend to have with Kickstarter is the scrolling, right? I have to scroll so much, and so I don't know if this was like all you guys or if this was some of the help you got, but your page, to me anyways, was very nicely laid out. Yeah. I didn't feel like I was scrolling for an hour. And I was able to, and it logically followed. Right. Like it was, I guess, concise that you can say for like a page. And so I did like that. I can't remember what other, it was probably that epilepsy game, right? But just
playing games.
All right. Oh,
where you my finger got sore trying to scroll down there.
Yeah, but
whereas this is,
to her point, you set this up working with what Kickstarter has to offer you. You've actually laid it out very nicely and properly in the order that we'd like to see things. So yeah, kudos to you, because most don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, we put a lot of hours into the Kickstarter page, and we had it in a spot that we were pretty happy with, actually. We got some advice from someone, actually our video editor, who helped us with our video at the top of the page. And he, Dimitri is his name, is really good bloke. But he helped us a lot with the layout in the end. We wanted to make some GIFs that could go through the page so that we could show off some more items in the page and stop some of that sort of scrolling forever you see on some of these campaigns. And he did a really good job of helping us lay it out. Didn't really change the ordering, but did make it a bit more compressed, because that's something that we found, especially in board games and Kickstarter. The page just goes forever, and you can't absorb everything, and you're not really reading it all. So we want to make it, obviously it's still quite a long page, but for a board game, we don't think it's as long as it could have been, that's for sure. So yeah, definitely shout out to Dima. He's did a really good job. Would recommend if anyone needs any help with their page.
Also, it's amazing. So Dima, highly recommend. If any other devs are watching this, please reach out to us if you want, and we can give you his details, because he did all of this while being in Ukraine with a war on, and like the guy is incredible. Works really hard, and absolutely give him my money again. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm wondering, do you have metrics on how many people are watching your, like the video at the start of your page?
Yeah. We have currently, we have 2,700 project followers. So that means people who've been opted in to be reminded. So 48 hours from the end of the campaign, they'll receive that message from Kickstarter saying, hey, you only have a few hours to back this campaign. We've also got 1,580 video plays.
Nice.
That's cool. You can see all that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they give a lot of detail, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's good because I'm really bad about clicking on those videos.
Guys,
first thing I click on.
Me too.
Do you guys watch the video or
Yeah.
do you skip it? You do? Okay.
Honestly, it's the first thing I click on
Me too.
any game page like this.
I've only watched the videos for the projects that we covered on this show. Otherwise, I usually don't watch the top banner video.
Oh, I do. I love seeing
Yeah,
the little
that's my
like
first thing.
playthroughs or like the background of the story, like what's actually happening in the game. That's kind of where I like, oh, it pulls me in, or like,
Yep.
am I interested, or do I want to read more? I like
the
that.
very first thing that I look at is I look at the pledge levels. That's the very first thing
Really?
that I look at, and then I say, okay, and then I go see what kind of stuff is in here, and then I'll look at all the other stuff. If I'm like,
It's funny 'cause
oh, okay, yeah, that's the way my
Inside the
brain works.
minds of backers.
I'm so the opposite. I'll see like the picture on Kickstarter about what the game is. I'll click on it and I'll watch the video because I'm so drawn to theme that if the video shows that it's going to be a pretty cool theme, then I'll start looking through it. If it's something that doesn't interest me, and then I'm like, meh, never mind.
When I don't know the designer, actually the first thing I do, I'm a little bit more like Ryan. I'm like pledge levels, and I look for the rule book because I've been burned too many times before. I'm like, is this thing just a giant beast that I want to just never never play?
Yeah, Jason, I'm just a material girl living in a material world. I'm all about the stuffs.
I have a game I sold that was pre-pandemic that was promised a solo mode that still didn't have a solo mode and had a 70-page rule book. I was like, what the? No, never mind.
That's too much. I know the third thing that Jason looks for. It's the dice tower.
Yeah.
Hey, if it's really cool, it might get me to click, even though I So let's talk about shipping. Well, actually, why don't we talk about the I like this timeline.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you did this because I had a lot of issues over the last couple of years with Kickstarters and stuff that I've backed, and I'm like, I thought there was a timeline in place, and clearly someone was just talking for the sake of talking. There was never any idea what their timeline would be. And quite frankly, when I don't see a timeline anymore, especially from a first-time creator, I just immediately like close the project down. I'm like, never mind. I'll get this in retail, or I'll buy it from someone that decides to sell it.
Yeah, well, I think we're both project managers in our day jobs. So, or we manage projects at least. So we've seen, or we understand how this kind of stuff needs to run. And even through the development process, we've seen how long some of this stuff takes. So we want to make sure we're really clear with how long we think everything's going to take. And we've planned this out as well as we can, more detailed than is on this page in terms of what we've got to do from here on out. So most things are included in there. And we think from what we've got now, we're pretty confident we can stick to what we've got there. So we should have this delivered on time, hopefully.
It is ambitious, and you see it. Most other campaigns usually add another at least 6 months.
Yeah,
to what we have, and so Jono is right. That I mean, actually, I said we are ambitious. However, what we've done differently is we've done 99% of our artwork already. It's in place.
Awesome.
We have. Our manufacturers, they've already done all the manufacturing checks, which, by the way, guys, is a really time-consuming process. So it took us 6 weeks to get there. So what that means for us is that when this campaign finishes, we build the stretch goals and the art, then we have another round of play testing. We engage the community and make sure that they're happy with everything. And then we're looking at January for manufacturing and then shipping it out from there. So
that's so cool.
we're really trying. We want to, because also we want to start our next project. We want to get things rolling. So the sooner the better for us if we can get this out.
You are light years ahead of other companies, and I think 6 months these days is being generous. I think you're looking more at delays of 12 to 18 months. 6 months was the pre-COVID delays. Now, just with everything backing up and I don't know if it's people trying to get the money before they actually have enough of the idea solidified. It's gone a lot worse. I mean, Ryan, how long was Trudvang Legends?
3 years.
That's too
insane.
much.
And that was from an established, like, pretty quote unquote big wig in the industry, and it still took, like, after their campaign was done, they came out to all the backers and said, "We're scrapping the whole thing. We have to start from the ground up again." So, like,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. 3 years. We want to make sure that when we launch this game is complete. I mean, the game is functionally complete. It's playable in its current state. You can play it on Tabletop Simulator right now. It's ready to go. So it's
I missed that.
Was really
is that on the campaign page?
It's not on the campaign page actually, but it is on the backer kit page. And yeah, maybe we should add that in. But
I think it should be added in on the campaign page. Because
I'm starting, because I just got a brand new computing machine not too long ago that can actually run Tabletop Simulator like relatively smoothly. So I'm always interested now in if that has like a playable demo or something like that.
Tabletop Sim is surprisingly beefy to computers. It really slows down.
What it looks like you look at it and it's like, why is this thing eating all my memory? Melting. It's like, I can render this video in 4K, and then you open Tabletop Simulator and your computer explodes.
It sounds like a jet turbine. I'm like, is the 747 taking off in here? You've just opened Tabletop Sim.
No, I'm really happy to see this. I think you're light years ahead of other companies. I mean, look, there's a game that I loved. Maybe loved is too much of a word, but I love the theme. I enjoyed playing it. My wife enjoyed playing it, but we didn't have enough of a good reason to get back to the table. I was waiting for the expansion, and kind of like Trudvang, it's probably getting close to 4 years now. That game is gone. My pledge is canceled. Luckily, they refunded me, but like, it's getting ridiculous with some of these things, and there's definitely some crowdfunding hesitancy. And I don't know if there's a way for you to get that, like, somehow like front and center, even higher up on the campaign page, or just a link to it. I think that would help convince people, like, this is actually going to happen.
There was one thing I wanted to say too, in a little bit lower. I really liked that you guys had in there that you said, like, this game is going to ship, or this game is going to happen if we reach our goal.
Oh, the promises.
Like, we're not going to shut it down once we reach our campaign like target.
Not like Kingdom Come Deliverance. I don't care. I'll take a shot at those guys.
You've been itching to, Jason. Go ahead.
When you set your funding goal to be 10% of what you actually need, how do you expect to fund your game?
Yeah, that was crazy. And I guess that was really what drove this promise to back is thing that's happened across a few different campaigns. And we really believe that. We've felt the growing discontent in the community for campaigns being cancelled when they reach their goal, not doing any of the stuff that's listed in this list. And we think this is really important to us. We think it's almost morally wrong to go down that path. So we wanted to make sure that everyone knows that our commitment right now is to make this game with the funds we get from this game and deliver it as well as we can. And that's what we're saying. And we think, in my opinion, at least, Anthony might feel differently about it, but I think it's really, really strong. It's something that is quite core to our values and something that we truly believe.
Yeah. Awesome. And actually, I don't think it's even a thing that, deserves a round of applause. This should be the bare minimum for anyone, and like, I actually get quite angry at these massive campaigns that they ruin the reputation of board game devs. Like, we're here. We really just want to have a good crack at this. We've tried so hard, and then you have a big campaign and they cancel when they get 5x the funding that we have, and we're still able to make it work. It doesn't make sense to me. So I think that it should, every campaign really should have a section for this, and that would be one of my bits of feedback to Kickstarter is put your commitments in a bar on the side, because backers should get a sense of confidence back. I think confidence has been lost in the community.
I would love if Kickstarter had like a little bit more control of some of the stuff, or at least could see the books. Yeah. And if the books start being, like some guy notoriously paid for groceries for like a whole lot of groceries from backer money. If Kickstarter saw that happening, like, why is IGA groceries here? Like, it should just like, fine, we're taking all the money you got and we're refunding all your backers, and you're just done. But yeah, I think Kickstarter does need to add a little bit more accountability in terms of what's going on, and I do think that has definitely affected some backer hesitancy on the platform specifically.
And it's not, accountability is not red tape, because ultimately what it means is the other devs, if they have confidence that their fellow devs are being held accountable, it will bring more backers into the community. Because I know a lot of people are saying, I don't back Kickstarter campaigns anymore. I've been burnt too many times. I'll just wait till it comes out to retail, and I'll get it there, because I don't want to be like, I can't believe you've been waiting 4 years or 3 years for some campaigns. That's insane to me. Hopefully we do see more people do this stuff. Like I said, it should be the standard. And Doomsday Robots, they really set the scene, and they were backed up by Jamie Stegmaier. So it's cool to see that this stuff is picking up now.
Well, and you look at what Jamie's done, and talking about he moved off of crowdfunding, but looking at your timeline and what he does, it's like he talks about something, he lets you order it, and it's like it's already on the boat. Like you're getting your product.
Yeah.
And that's something I think is very important, and something that not enough companies have done. And there's one company that they're trying to get some stuff done. They made some beautiful games, but they definitely specifically stabbed Canadians sort of in the back, which was the guy making Wild Descent, wherein I didn't even have my first edition of the game, and they're like, we're making second edition, and it's not compatible with the first edition. So here's a discount to buy like the core box again for $50 less. And I'm like, by the time your campaign is done, I don't think I will have received or even gotten a chance to play mine. Like, so you want me to buy it again, sight unseen, for more money? Like, it was just a disaster. I know very few Canadians that went in on that again.
Feels like a slap in the face, that, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'm very happy it's gone. It's not in my collection. That's like gone, and the company is.
You got cold.
Yeah.
There's a line through that one. I was not happy. So let's talk about the last thing that we always talk about on the show is shipping. I got to say, the only thing that I'm not sure about in your numbers here is the shipping, because Canada, $20. I haven't seen shipping like that since I don't know when. That's like me shipping something to Rob and Anna Marie or Ryan.
But this is shipping from the US, you said, right? Like you chose to ship it to the US and just get the other ones like sent to Australia that were going there. And so that's probably cutting down, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Jono, you should really talk about this, but just to like a preface is that we've worked really hard on getting partners in now. And so we're using Fulfill Right, which they will bring in the container from China into New Jersey, I believe it is. Is that right, Jono? New Jersey? I think it's there.
I believe so. Yeah.
And then from there they'll ship it out. So it's pretty close to you guys, and they've given us quotes. It should be in a spreadsheet there if you click the image. Anything you want to talk about on that note, Jono?
Yeah, I guess we understand that the shipping price adds a lot to the price of the game a lot of the time, and it can be a pretty big stumbling block for people. So we put a lot of effort into making sure we got it as good as we can, especially for our European backers. Even though we're expecting them to be a smaller percentage of backers, our campaign will be mostly US based. We anticipate. Don't get that until we're done, but we want to make sure we could do it as well as possible to each location. So we've got a shipping provider in the US, one in the UK to do UK and the EU, and then we've got one in Australia as well, and some that we can do locally here. I would say the Canadian price is a bit different from that there, but we're still working with the provider and see if we can reduce that as much as possible all the way up until the time we'll be shipping this game. So there's each area of the world down the bottom, it's got all the splits of shipping that we've got currently from our providers, and we're working through this as much as we can. As pricing updates, what we've got there is estimates only at this stage because that's all we can get. Everyone's doing or redoing their shipping rates as we speak. So it's tough to do, but we've chosen really reputable providers, and everyone with Fulfill Right's got a good reputation. That's why we went with them in the end. And now our provider in the UK is Spiral Galaxy, who works with Stonemaier as well, and Fulfill Right works with Stonemaier too. So we have confidence in that, and our provider in Australia, we've got a lot of confidence in it. They'll do, one, give a good service, and two, give us the best rate that we can possibly get to each location.
So here's something that I've been seeing a lot, and I don't know if you get the details on this, because I do work for a manufacturer in my day job, and everyone's talking about the prices of just the shipping containers coming down. And what I always say when people are like, the containers are getting cheaper, and I'm like, yeah, but you're forgetting that everything else is still going this way or is still this high. So it's like, sure enough, like maybe the shipping container went down by like $10,000, but if you're only talking about 5,000 copies, that ain't much. It's like, in terms of your actual costs right now. So has that actually affected anything, the decreasing price of getting the containers to the locations, or not so much?
Or somewhat it has. That is, for us, we didn't bake that into what the shipping cost we've got here. That's baked into the cost of the game. So that pricing for us, because we're doing smaller quantities, we've got 400 backers here, so we might be shipping 400, 1,000 games, somewhere in that range. The container is probably not going to be where most of the cost is. It's that, what they call the last mile delivery, getting it from the fulfillment centers to the backers is where most of that cost is, and where most of the issue is with shipping these days anyway. So I think that's more of the issue than the shipping containers at the moment. That pricing's, it's much more significant overall.
And that's good to hear, because I keep seeing all of this stuff like, yay, containers are going down. And I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. It's, that's from being in manufacturing. And I'm happy to hear it from, a small designer saying, well, sorry, hopefully you guys are going to be big designers.
Hopefully.
You're small for the moment.
Not yet. Yeah.
Small for the moment that this is like, yes, the container cost is in the price of the game. So you might be saving a few bucks, but it's not affecting that last mile and all the work that people have to do to pick and pack and organize the game and get it into the hands of your backers.
Yeah.
There is a point, though, in there that economies of scale does have a major impact on all pricing. So if you use I'll go with Wonderland's War again, or Arcs by Letter Games. So they had, I think, 5,000 backers, something like that. They'll have 3 or 4 containers, and that will probably halve their shipping cost, or it'll just be minuscule in comparison to what we'll be using, which is we'll be probably utilizing part of someone else's container to get our games over. So it is, economies of scale does have a major impact on this too, which is why also we hope that we continue to get a healthy amount of backers in every day, because the more that we get orders in, the more that we can ship to Canada and the US and Europe, and the more that we can actually subsidize these costs. Also, if hopefully there's no COVID 2.0, because if there is, I've just talked out of my butt and correct.
Hey, you got a solo mode, so you're ahead of everyone else. I mean, everyone was the game out of solo mode when COVID was coming.
Yeah, true.
I'm just happy to say that like at least people are reputable and they weren't going into the pledge managers like get the new solo mode add-on, which is just like a piece of paper that says play by yourself.
Play by yourself.
All right.
Well, on that, is there any insight and anything planned for like extra things that you could possibly purchase inside the pledge manager, or is the pledge manager just going to be just like managing and just collecting like shipping information and whatnot?
No, we're planning to have add-ons in the pledge manager. We would like to add on a lot of it. We want to center around people who do have the core box but just want the metal coins, for example. So you might just be able to get that as an add-on, but not everything, because we want to make sure that if you got the deluxe box, then you've got something pretty exclusive there. So we were also flipping up the idea of having something like a hoodie or a hat. Or I like hats, so I'd like to have a Patriot hat that can be relevant to the board game. I think that would be quite cool. Though a lot of these things do have minimum order quantities from the manufacturer, so that's kind of our driving reason to have things or not to have things.
Ooh, that's fair. Right on.
That's neat.
Excellent.
Also, what do you guys want to see? Yeah, tell us, and we'll see if we can make it work.
Well, is there anything that well, I know Rob likes the swag. So Rob, what cool swag would you like to see?
I was actually going to say I've never seen a hoodie on a.
No, that sounded pretty cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you said
That's
that,
neat.
I like hats too. So yeah, I could do that for sure.
Is there a hoodie that
Hoodie,
can
that'd
make
be sweet.
everyone think I'm an assassin when I'm not the assassin, or vice versa?
Yeah.
Like real
You
life.
do that.
Is it just a hoodie that just says "I am not the assassin"?
Look, we got to be really careful about this stuff, because if I'm really conscious, I don't want to print a hat with Patriot on it. You might get accused of being something else. No, guys, I just like the board game.
But yeah, you don't want to be like associated with like Patriot Front or something like that.
No, yeah. We have no representation of that. We don't want to be associated at all. So, yeah, we're going to make it very board game related. And also, I'm not the assassin. Also, probably not a good idea.
The problem, you just wear it to every time you play the game so that no one can ever figure you out.
True.
Or better yet, you just have like one, like you got like one that says I'm not, and one says like save the president. Then you get your cards and you put something on it. Everyone's like, I hate you so much. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm all for that. I like that idea.
It says like bluffing with like an arrow pointing up or something.
I like that, actually.
got an arrow on the shirt. You can just like move it back and forth.
Yeah.
Cards get dealt again during the round. You just switch it sides, and people are like, "What?"
Yeah, it's just that sequence. It's that sequence where you rub it to the one way, it reveals one image, and you rub it the other way, it reveals another image.
I'm thinking something more like, the twister spinner. So, because some people really don't like social deduction, right? So you could say, if you're not a fan of social deduction, let the spinner decide for you who you're going to accuse all game.
Nice. I like it.
It needs to be a dry erase spinner so you can add in like different people's names.
Yeah.
That would be great. So we always like to end the show going through whether we will be backing this game or not. We don't often, the last time we had designers on, it was during the late pledge. So it was a little easier because of the pledge manager, and this campaign is live. So I'm going to let Rob and Anna Marie take it away because I think they already spoiled it on the show.
Yeah, he's good at that. He's a good spoiler.
Yeah, backed it in the middle of our discussion.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Thank you.
It's everything I love in games. Honestly, this game was made for me, and she's right there with me. But
and her.
Yeah, but no, and seriously, this is my thing. It always has been. Like I've been obsessed with social deduction games, and this one is looking like one of the better ones out there for me.
And I like playmats, so you got your bases
Right?
covered, right?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, we went with the deluxe too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that dice tower.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all that stuff. Love it.
Hear it.
Well, you have to go with the deluxe at this point because
Yeah.
the price comparison between deluxe and just the core box and everything, it's a steal of a deal.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm looking at this too because primarily nowadays I don't get to do that large playgroup thing anymore. I'm more of I've turned into a solo gamer over the past, I don't know, 3 years ish and everything like that.
The COVID years.
Yep, the COVID years, and my wife is my primary gaming partner with me. This would be a theme that's not really up her alley. So I have to really go back to her and see with it, everything like that. I'm really liking everything like this, but it's going to be Robin and Marie. It's going to be the wife's decision, I think, on this one for us. But I'm really impressed with what I've seen. So I definitely want to try out that tabletop simulator mod too, just to kind of play around moving the pieces and take a look at some of the components and the cards and stuff like that. So
I empathize. My partner is really the person who has the final say in most things. So I get it. I refer to the boss.
Yeah, but I really intrigued by this. So is the 1-2 player campaign part of that mod that's out there right now, or is it just a taste of it?
It is in there. However, it's there is some updates that we've got in our actual game that we haven't put in the mod just yet. So more like small balance tweaks. If you play, I'd say go for the M campaign. That's our favorite. And we had a playthrough on the page that is we're very close to losing. We just got it in at the end.
Cool. Yeah. So
Awesome.
I can't see why not. And we would definitely be doing the deluxe version just because of what I said. Why not at this stage with the stuff that you're getting?
So I'm definitely interested in the game because, as I've said, I fired my social deduction game because it was just more valuable in someone else's hands than my own. And the fact that this one can actually be played and isn't, as John mentioned, having something we got like 4 boxes to try to teach someone how to play the game. This definitely is something that I'm very interested in. I mean, similar like situations to Ryan, where I don't think this theme is going to really pull Julie in, meaning that this is the kind of thing that we would be playing more or less on game nights. But the 1-2 player campaign is something that can sucker in. I mean, I got Cthulhu Death May Die, and she looked at me and was like, why the heck did you buy this? And then we played the game. And now she's like, that thing doesn't leave the collection. So I'm like, okay. You never know which way it's going to go. I'm leaning more towards just the core box, not because I don't necessarily want all the stuff in the deluxe box, but I think Anthony said it best. It'd be like, you get the box, you just want the metal coins. I could see myself using all of those elements all the time. And I'm also just trying to kind of cut down, as we've joked that these are actual therapy sessions where you're trying to buying games and works less times than it's actually supposed to.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Let's link to buying more games. So I'm definitely going to be looking at the core box and fairly certain that I'll be pledging it either now or definitely jumping in on the pledge manager though. And I'll be looking to grab a copy of this for sure because there's a lot of the elements that I loved about BSG that are here, but I can get this game to the table whenever I want, and that is really the thing for me. If I cannot answer that question, then the game doesn't come into the house anymore. I've got enough stuff that I need to get rid of.
Yeah.
And none of it's necessarily bad; it just has to go.
Yeah. That's great. I get that too. We're very minimalist in our household by choice, and it's really hard to choose which board games are coming in. Usually it's a 1-to-1. One comes in, one goes out. It has to be like that. So every decision is important.
So I know I've got ISS Vanguard here. Ryan has ISS Vanguard coming. I have an unhealthy addiction to campaign games. I have Chronicles of Junagor coming, and I saw that box, and it's like, I don't have the first wave. So I'm like, that's coming. I'm like, I have no idea where this is going to go. Like, there's no room left for this.
Well, we just finished talking about Tainted Grail, and that's taking up shelves and corners and
Oh yeah.
Who says a carriage house needs to be for family? You can just, you know.
You actually just reminded me of something, Ryan. It was a point I was going to make earlier with regards to Kickstarter and GameFound, because we talked Tainted Grail. Tainted Grail is only funded, and it sounds ridiculous saying this now, it's only funded for 2.5 million or so. It funded for 10 million on the first campaign. So you're seeing them performing on GameFound, and this is Awaken Realms on their platform on GameFound to their fans at only 25% of what they did. Sorry, a quarter of what they did on Kickstarter.
Yep.
So that is a very interesting thing to think about. What does that say about the crowdfunding wars? I don't know. What does that say about Tainted Grail? Maybe something that those of us that like the game don't really want to think about, because there's not much people that like the game at this point.
or it's the other spectrum where there's just a lot of people pinching pennies these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could also be it.
Yeah. Or room on their shelf too.
Or
Tainted Grail was like 17 boxes, right? Like, so, you know, that takes up a bit of room.
Excellent. Well, on that note, Ron, I think you can shut down the page. I like where you picked, though. You get to see the whole team as we're exiting this episode.
I'm good for a good idea every now and then.
So we're going to let Anthony and John start by taking it away. Since they're our special guests, you definitely need to check out this game, follow them, see what they're doing, because if Patriot being their first effort, I'm sure they're going to be coming back with something even cooler. And if they say dungeon crawl, I'm just going to be like, I hate you guys, because here's my wallet, and start going in there, because that typically is what happens.
All right, dungeon crawler, let's go. You go ahead, Ed, though. You can do this one.
Yeah, sure. So our next game's a dungeon crawler. No, just kidding. No, we do have some really cool ideas coming up, but I think that for my mental health, I just need to focus on Patriot and finishing that before we even consider anything else. But for anyone who's watching, thank you so much. And thank you to all the backers, and thanks to all of you guys too. This has been really fun. If you want to back Patriot, you can either Google it, go Patriotboardgame Kickstarter, you'll find it, it'll be there, or you can follow us on Wild Robot Games on all the socials. So please give it a go. Play it on Tabletop Sim. We'll put it in there tomorrow.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate how much we appreciate the people who have come along on the journey so far and backed it and been following along. It's been pretty incredible seeing the response we've had so far, and again, the feedback that we have so far, it's been really good. The game's been reviewed pretty well for the people who've had it, and it's just been an incredible journey. Like Anthony said, there's been a lot of work that's gone into this, so to see the fruits of our labor come and be responded to pretty well, it's been good. So yeah, thanks so much to everyone, and thanks to everyone here as well for having us and spending your time with us.
All right, Rob, Anna Marie, Ryan, one of you, take it away.
Sure.
I didn't know. Okay,
Again,
sure. Yep.
we've been Rob and
Anna Marie
from the Meeple Dungeon out here in Kelowna, BC. You can find us on Twitter at Meeple Dungeon.
Thank you.
YouTube for some unboxings and such, and then our podcast generally every week to 10 days. Episode 45 we just put out, which was our trip to Shucks in Vancouver. You can hear all about that weekend there, and then yeah, that's it. The Meeple Dungeon podcast.
And folks, I've been Ryan from Mr. L's Gaming, and you can catch me on YouTube live every Tuesday and Thursday evenings, where I'm playing something either with friends or I'm playing solo. You can also catch all my gaming adventures over on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. To search up at Mr. Rao Gaming. And now that I know that there's a tabletop simulator mod and everything, and that Wonder Players, and I see that there's 23 days left in this campaign, I might just have to try to get this on stream right before the end of the month.
Let's do it.
I might have to just try that. Maybe I'll send you folks a message. Maybe we can play together.
That'd be fun.
Sounds good to me.
I have some time at the end of the month here, so maybe I'm gonna. I've got it jotted down. I got the idea jotted down.
We'll make it work.
Sweet.
Awesome. And you found us on this channel, Dice and Dragons, so you know who I am. And on that note, I'm just going to like to remind everyone to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that YouTube will let you know when our next video is released. Also, down below in the video description, you'll find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see some pictures of the games that we've been playing, you should make sure to check that out. Also down there, there'll be links to Patriot, links to the Meeple Dungeon, links to Mr. Rouse Gaming. So if you're trying to find anyone, we've got all the information there for you. And there'll be a link for sure to the Kickstarter page. Also down there's a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game store. You should click the link. You should message them, tell them that they need to retail back Patriot because they do retail back Kickstarters. So make sure that you check them out. If you click the link, you'll get 10% off your next purchase. And it's a great way to support the channel as a portion of that purchase is returned to us. And then popping up in front there are going to be links to some of our previously released videos. The first one will be the most recent release. And after that, I'll take you back to the full Kickstarter Excess or Value playlist. So if you haven't been following this show, the channel, and you're wondering what half of the stuff we're talking about is, well, go through the videos. I'm sure you'll have a good time and you'll get some of these inside jokes. And on that note, we're going to remind everyone to
keep playing games.